By far, the number one question I get asked by teachers in the months of July and August is, what do I need to do to get ready for the school year? And so today I want to share with you 5 tips that I've used for almost 2 decades to make sure that I have the most memorable beginning of the year that I possibly could. But before we jump into this video, I want to say thank you to our extremely special sponsor, OrCam Learn, for sponsoring this video. Let's go. The first idea is really a question to yourself, and that is putting yourself in the student's seat and asking yourself, like, what would make my classroom the most memorable, the most exciting? How could I make this a place that students want to come back to? And that could look like a lot of different things. That could look like an opening icebreaker. It could look like a game with your students. It could look like an experiment or a fun activity. But in that, one thing it took me a while to learn because I'm so extroverted is keeping the introverted kids in mind. So how are we keeping in mind those students that, you know, the idea of like standing on your desk or sitting on your desk or throwing a ball at one another is not something that they're super excited about. So keeping in mind an activity that is inclusive for those students as well, and for, you know, maybe they are doing something slightly different than the rest of the class. Maybe they're keeping score, maybe they're handing things out, maybe they're collecting things, but it's something more suited to them that's going to make those students want to be in class as well. On that first day, if you're not into doing super fun and outlandish activities, that's fine too. Maybe you could do a project that the class worked on together or as individuals. Maybe you create a presentation that is going to show kids the excitement, all the great stuff you're going to learn about this year, you're going to do together, all the relationships that you're going to form. And you could even think of that as creating like a movie trailer for this school year that's going to just get kids excited. The second thing here is contacting parents, but in a different way than maybe your school normally does or that you've heard teachers do before. The 3 questions that I have always asked parents at the beginning of the year, I found it kind of leaves them a little bit dumbfounded. And they're not even like brain busters. But it's just doing things a little bit differently. So what I found is that even as a parent, and many of you being parents would know that the beginning of the year leaves parents often just as anxious or nervous for their child. Sometimes even I'm more nervous than my own kids are. And so to have someone reach out ahead of time and ask me this. 1, I always ask parents, what is something that you would like me to know about your child that's not going to show up on an IEP, a 504, or a regular school intake form? So this opens the gates to all kinds of information to come into you from a parent. And I will tell you this, if you do not get an answer immediately, and some of you won't get an answer at all, it is because I think parents aren't used to being asked that. They've never been asked that by a teacher ever. So having that personal touch is really going to be a big deal. The other question you ask parents is, what was your student's favorite class ever and why? What you're looking for are clues. Clues as to what kind of learner is about to show up into your classroom. Do they like getting up and getting out of the seat? Do they like creating projects? Do they like working by themselves alone? Do they like a quiet classroom? You're looking for those sorts of clues in that answer. And the third question is the opposite of that. What class was your student's least favorite class of all time and why? You're never looking for the teacher's name because we're not trying to play like a blame game and there's nothing you can do about that anyway. But what you're looking for is a class that maybe was a little bit too rigid. That was a little bit too wild. That was a little bit too everything, and you want to get around that. So asking those 3 questions is going to get you super far. Before I get to my next point, I have to talk to you about my favorite piece of educational technology that really changed the lives of students in this last year. You all know the value I put on building strong relationships with students and parents. And part of that is really so that we know what kind of learners are coming into our classrooms. And so as you're getting ready for this year and kind of building out your to-do list and grabbing things for your students at the store, I'd like you to consider my favorite piece of technology for educators and for students that I found out in the last year, and that is the OrCam Learn. One of my favorite things about OrCam Learn is that it empowers students. It puts the power of their learning in their own hands. And 2, it helps us meet our students where they are so we can bring them up to where they need to be. I think too often as educators, we feel forced to teach the kids that are supposed to be in the seats and not the kids that are in the seats. And with the OrCam Learn, there are a ton of features that help us meet those students exactly where they are and help them to incrementally move the needle to that space that they do need to be in. Now, what I'm alluding to when I talk about those features is it will read any text to you. Anything that you can point the OrCam Learn at, it will read that text to you. It will also ask you comprehension questions that the OrCam Learn comes up with and tests you as you're reading. It also provides instant feedback to teachers and to students so that students can see the growth that they are making in real time. And my two newest favorite features that I've even used with my own children at home is that when you are using the OrCam Learn, you can use it to point at any word and it will define any word in any text that you have. And not only does the OrCam Learn define a word for you, it will translate words in up to 15 different languages. So if you have students that are reading a book that might have a different language in it that a character is speaking, or a lot of my students are reading manga or they're reading graphic novels, that there might be a word or a phrase in there that they don't know, all you do is take the OrCam Learn, point it, click it, and it will translate the word or a whole page of text into up to 15 different languages. Like I said, it is my favorite educational device that maybe I've ever found, but definitely in the last year or two, because it brings that power to my students. You can find more out about OrCam Learn in the description below. Let's get into number 3. My third tip in starting the new year is, it's a little different. That's how we kind of roll on this channel, is that, listen, the beginning of the year can bring you with so much anxiety and stress, and especially even when you've been around for a while. So for those teachers that have kind of been in the classroom for a minute, I think it's really important to go out and try and meet new people. You want to go out and greet the new staff, because what will settle your nerves more than anything I have found is just trying to help someone else. So showing someone how to use the copy machine, showing someone where the supply closet is, showing someone where they can get, the desks that they need in their room, or what setup might work best with this particular group of students that are coming in this year, or even just bringing back an extra cup of coffee and seeing if they want it. And one of the selfish reasons I do this every year is you just never know who moved in next door or across the hall. Your favorite new co-conspirator and all of your educational madness might be right next door. For number 4, I think it's really important to dream. Take some time out, drinking a glass of wine, you're having a cup of coffee, you're sitting alone in a park, and think about what would make this year the most incredible year ever. And when you're doing that, you're thinking about a couple of things. You're thinking about, of course, lessons. You're thinking about experiences, like learning experiences that your students could do. You're thinking about partnerships that you could make, classroom visitors, classroom trips that you could take. And this is going to help you to kind of think beyond just your curriculum and how you can make your learning come alive. But a very important caveat in this is that remembering that teaching is a craft, that this is not something that you are good at overnight, that's going to take time to build that dream. And so if you don't reach that incredible level this year, knowing that you are making small movements towards that dream over time. It's something that I always wanted to remember as a teacher, and I still have a hard time now with basically everything in my life, because I like dreaming big, but it's having grace for myself and knowing that all of these things will come in due time when you are ready. And the last thing to do to get ready for this year is this. Listen, like it or not, there are naysayers all the time. They're at every school, just about. I hope someone out there has them, not at their school, but they are at every school I've ever worked. And these are folks that don't even mean ill towards you. They are looking at you and they're thinking like, you better dial it down. You're gonna run out of speed. You're gonna burn yourself out. You're doing too much. You're going too far. The kids don't need all that. Nobody else does it like this. My piece of advice to you is, one, that our students can't wait for us to be the teachers that we're meant to be. And no one knows you like you. You be the teacher that you always dreamed of being. And that might not match up to anybody else's vision or what they think it means to be a teacher. This is about you and about what you believe your students need to reach the levels of success that you know that they are capable of. And so in this year, as you're getting ready, and those folks come in and they look at your room a little weird because you have a driftwood tree or a flying book or lights all over the place, you are creating special spaces, safe spaces for children to have learning experiences that are gonna blow their minds. Do not slow down on that. Go full speed on that. And if you need a break, take it, but stay away from those naysayers. Listen, gang, I want you to have the greatest year ever. So if you need anything from us, you can hit us up right up at realrapwithreynolds.com or email us at realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com. I really love to thank OrCam Learn for sponsoring this video. They are incredible. Click the link below, do yourself a favor, find out more information for you and your students today. That's it, gang. Peace.